Let's get more analysis now with Giorgi Revishvili. He's a political analyst and former senior advisor at the Office of the National Security Council of Georgia. He joins us from College Station in Texas. Thanks for speaking to us on this news hour. Now, Giorgi, when all of this was unfolding earlier this week, you tweeted, Prigozhin should have known that there are no second chances in Putin's Russia. If he has indeed been killed in this crash, was this inevitable after that short-lived mutiny in June?
I'm pretty sure that this was inevitable. Putin's Russia actions like that cannot be forgiven. And Putin is all about strengthening his own power, and his system is built upon power. And Putin over and over again, in many instances, said, treason cannot be tolerated and will not be forgiven. So, and it also brings the situation that deals with the agreements with Putin it's just words which will not be actionable, and in the future it will not be he will not stick to these words. And again, in terms of Ukraine, we also can relate to that because many people are still talking about having diplomatic efforts and agreements with Putin's Russia. This is what happens when you have agreements or deals with Putin.
Well, what happens now to the war in Ukraine? What impact is Prigozhin's death going to have there? Because him and his fighters were very instrumental in taking that key city of Bakhmut just earlier this year.
We know that many of the Wagner fighters left Ukraine and they were relocated to Belarus, as your correspondent also said that, and many of them were deployed across Africa and other countries where Wagner had their activities. I don't assume that there's going to be any tangible impact on Russia's efforts against Ukraine.
And I'd like to look at how this, or what this now does to President Putin and his presidency, because will he be seen as a stronger leader after this? Is this something that the Russian public will look at and believe that Putin is still the right leader for them in those upcoming elections next year?
Of course, in the short term, it strengthens Putin's image, it strengthens Putin's power, and it sends strong signal to the Russian elite that everybody who thinks going against the regime, against the system, will just not be will be just punished. So it is preventive in a way measure that nobody will ever dare to go against him. But in a long run, it might also undermine his power because it evaporates trust among the elite and among the security apparatus because now they've seen what might happen to them. So if anyone decides to go against him, he will go in the end probably.
And when you talk about trust among the elites and security, that mutiny that was short-lived back in June, Yevgeny Prigozhin really staged that because he was angry at Russia's defense ministers and Russia's security. Have we seen a fallout from June and now what's happened in the last days among Russian security?
Yes, I think Russian security services just took these 2 months after the mutiny to just prepare takeover over Wagner, and we've seen reports that GRU General Averiano assured leaders in Africa, and also Putin himself assured leaders in Africa that the business will be intact across the region if the leadership of Wagner is taken out. And in the short term, it's a big win for the general staff. It's a big win for the Russian MOD because Prigozhin was against Chief of General Staff Gerasimov aggressively and Defense Minister Shoigu. So in this battle, they have victory, and we've seen that because they taken out not only Prigozhin but his battlefield commander, Dmitry Utkin, and his right hand, Valery Cherkasov, who was responsible for Wagner logistics and the business activities of the Wagner as an organization. So I would assume what we've seen these past few weeks, and we will see in the future, it was that security services and Russian MOD will try to replace and absorb Wagner fighters and Wagner as an organization, because Africa and other regions are tremendously important and critical to Russian foreign policy. So they will they want to make sure that these relations will be on the table and will be intact.
Giorgi Revishvili, thank you so much for speaking to us and for your analysis live there from College Station in Texas.
It's always a pleasure to come back on your television. Thank you.